But hey, we're talking about in God we trust. It's written right on the money. And so we're going to, who we trusting with our stuff. Now, here's a disclaimer for you. If you came in here today and you're thinking, oh no, the money talk, that always happens. The church just wants my money. Hear me real quick. Do not give to this church if that's what you think we're after. If you think we're trying to twist your arm and make you feel guilty and like you're not a good Christian if you don't give, that's not the heart behind what we're doing here. The Bible teaches us in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, we told you last week, it says this: you must each decide in your heart how much to give. And don't give reluctantly or in response to pressure. For God loves a person who gives cheerfully. So never under compulsion, never under pressure to give, right? It's okay, God, what have you called me to do? And I want to do this cheerfully. So we want to help you today get set free in some areas when it comes to finances. We want you to understand something. We all know that we're a church built up of a lot of different people in a lot of different places in your life. You're in different parts of your walk with God. You're in different places on the journey. This isn't like everyone in here is a Bible theological scholar. But we also realize not everybody in here is brand new to faith and doesn't know much about it. We've got people in all walks of the journey. So we want you to know that we understand that, and we want to help you get better. But here's what we also want you to know. We are unapologetic here at Limitless Church about what we do believe. We're unapologetic about believing all of God's word, every bit of it. We're going to teach every bit of it, and we want you to know that. We want you to help you get better. That's our job. We want to help you get better. And if you'll just open up your heart and say, God, if you're real, like if you are real, God, I want you to reveal more of yourself to me. Guess what he'll do? He'll do just that. So even in this area, like, okay, God, I want to know, will you reveal more of who you are when it comes to finances? Because we're doing this collection of talks for a reason. We're about to enter this week is notoriously one of the worst financial decision weeks for most people, because we have gotten our society to believe that when it hits about 4 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day, which is sad as all get out, it is time to swipe and get that Christmas shopping done because it's Black Friday. And people go, why do we call it that? Because at that point, every business is in the red. They're struggling. They ain't got no money. But just wait for Black Friday because they sell enough goods in that 24-hour period to get themselves back in the black. That's what they call it. So they've suckered you into thinking that's the best time to go shopping. And they've suckered you into thinking, hey, just swipe today, which you can't pay for today and you can't pay for tomorrow. And so you buy items that cost you $50, and by the time you've paid Visa back, you paid $384 for an item that cost you $50. Thank you for interest, and thank you for not making wise decisions. There's a reason that Dave Ramsey says if you don't have cash, don't buy it. If you can't afford it, don't get it. You don't need it. Like, we got to get this. And so there's more than just this idea of you tithing and you understanding giving to God. And that's not what this is about. This is about helping you become a better steward. Remember last week we talked about what that means, that word steward, to be in charge of or looking after things that don't belong to me. That's what a steward is. I am just managing and overseeing God's economy and his resources. He is trusting me with them that I'll use them correctly. So we want to help you get better in all areas of your life with that. And that's why we're doing this talk, and we talked about last week, you can go listen to it, about trust. Now listen to me. We said this last week. We don't want anything from you. We believe God has something for you. So we're not trying to get something from you like this is a big it's a Ponzi scheme. Here we go. We're trying to get you to do this, and it's a pyramid scheme. No, we believe God has something specifically for you. I want to teach you something that may blow your mind. Did you know that in the Bible, there are 215 verses on faith? There are 218 verses on salvation. How many of you would say those are the big things for the church? We talk about faith and we talk about salvation. Those are the big ones. 215, 218. There are 2,058 verses on money and stewardship. So 10 times as many as faith, 10 times as many as salvation. But the church would tell you, hey, faith and salvation is all about. No, what I would tell you is salvation is the greatest decision you could ever make. You need to live by faith, but then you need to practice some godly principles. And so that's what I would tell you. Salvation is the door in. Faith is what I live by, but I need to learn some godly principles. And this one seems like a pretty important one, 2,058 verses. Jesus had 11 of his 39 parables talk about it. 15% of his preaching ministry was on this topic. So if it's important to God, it probably needs to be important to us as well. And so I want to help you today get a grasp on this in a new way. I taught a message similar to this earlier this year, and God really just impressed on my heart, you need to tell them again. How many of you know repetition helps? The more you hear something, the more you can put it into practice. I think we need to get some repetition in this area. So I want to teach you this thought process again. We just told you that we finalized our adoption of Judah. So we're kind of back into some of those baby stages. I remember telling Aaron when we decided to get an infant, our youngest daughter, Eliana, is 8. And I was doing the math. Come on, somebody. I was doing the math. I was like, oh, yeah. I'm going to be 50 years old. She's going to be graduating high school. We're going to be out of this thing by 50. Hello. And then Judah came along. I was like, all right, what's up, 60, 65? What's up, man? I'm doing this thing now. It's a lot different. And I told somebody, when you have a baby at 32 and we had Eliana, you jump right out of bed and that baby needs to be fed. 40? No, sir. I'm like, you need to go back to sleep, son. I am tired and I don't want to hear you crying right now. I was not ready for all the baby stuff again. But it's fun. He's drooling and biting on stuff and rolling over, and it's all those new things, right? How many of you know that you don't just expect your baby to get up and walk? They crawl. Now some babies don't, which is true. There's nothing that says a baby has to crawl before they walk. But scientists have proved a couple of things. Did you know that when a baby crawls, that weight-bearing experience of crawling helps develop arches and stretch out ligaments in the wrists and the hands, and it's needed for fine motor skills. So in the crawling process, that baby's learning something that will help them way down the road. Getting ligaments stretched out and fine motor skills are getting tuned in. There's a reason that we want a baby to crawl before they walk, so that you can learn things and build things up that need to be there. When we teach kids the ABCs, remember we all learned a fun little song. We learned that there was obviously a bunch of letters that went together called LMNOP. Like they all just went together, right? We learned that. This is how we didn't teach children how to read and how to learn their alphabet. We didn't go, all right, sit down, child. Look at this. This is the longest word in the English dictionary. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Put it up on the screen. Is it in there? There it is. Look. All right. Let me help you, child. The first letter, that's called an S. This is an S. Say it with me. S. All right. The next one is a U. That's not how we taught them. We taught them A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Where we taught them how to learn the alphabet. A is for apple. B is for bat. We taught them. We didn't just say, here's the longest word we've got. Learn the letters and learn how to say it. No, we taught them a process to help you get from here to there, to get better. We teach children how to swim. We don't just go, all right, here we go. This is called the deep end. Have fun. And toss them in. We do that with dogs, and it's amazing. They just pop right up and they go. That's not the same with children. No, we give them the cool little floaty boards and the life jackets, and they're learning to kick their feet. And guess what we do? We start in the shallow end and work our way to the deep. These are all principles we all understood growing up, right? Now, some of you are thinking, I'm going to just throw my kid in the deep end. That's not good parenting. Please don't do that, right? You don't teach your kids like, all right, today we're going to learn about the stove. Look at this. It's on high. Put your finger there. Oh, that's hot, isn't it? Yep, let's not do that again. That's called burning you. That's not how you teach someone. We progress. We get there, right? This is called a light socket. Lick your finger for me. Stick it in there. See how that shocked you? Don't do that again. That's called electricity. That's not how we teach people. We get them from here to there. But isn't it interesting in the church we don't do that? Especially in the area of money. Everything else we're good with. You come to church for the first time, we're like, hey, we understand you don't know the Bible. We want to get you in a Bible study. We want to get you in a limitless group and get around some people and grow and learn. We want to help you learn about serving. So we're going to get you on a serving team and on a dream team and help you learn what it looks like to serve. We want you to go to Connect and go to our Connect process and learn more about how God's wired you and how you can be a part of what God's doing. We do that everywhere else in the church. And then we talk about money. And we're like, it's 10%. Everyone gives 10%. And everybody kind of goes, okay, my gosh, I'm sorry. And they don't do it. They feel like a failure. They feel like they're not a good enough Christian. And that's all we've been taught. It's 10%. It's 10%. It's 10%. And hear me, it's biblical and it's correct. But why is this the only area in the church we don't help people get better? And give people some grace. We give people grace everywhere else. But when it comes to finances, we are like a no grace zone. It's either this or it's nothing. And I would tell you that God gave me divine revelation this year that we have got to make this thing grace-filled and help people get better. We got to help them get better. Listen to what it says in Proverbs 11:25. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be what? Refreshed. There's a reason that when we started our core values, our fifth one is generosity is our culture. We want to have a culture of being generous. Generous. Like that's what we want you to do. Like this is about a generosity. This is teaching you a principle, not a staunch way of living life. It's a principle. We want you to be generous with what God's given you. We said it last week. We're going to talk about the tithe today and the 10%, but I would tell you that's just the bare minimum. That when Jesus came on the scene, he was the fulfillment of it all. Jesus is going, yeah, you're kind of right. I don't just want 10%, I want all of it. Like, I want you to trust me with all of it. And everybody's like, oh, 10% sounds good. All is no good. 10% I like. Let's go back to 10%. I would tell you that that is the baseline for a believer. But again, it's grace-filled, so I want to help you get a rethinking of this today. Now, if those of you that have been in the church for a long time, you've been a faithful tither, this will make you a little uncomfortable. But I want you to hang with me. I've been a faithful tither. I believe in the 10%. Actually, I believe in more. Aaron and I are praying right now as we get ready for the fast next year. And we said, God, stretch us in 2020. Could we get to 11%? Could we get to 12%? Like, stretch us. Like, it should be more than that. Like, God, how can we be extravagant, generous givers? So that's something we're starting to think about. So again, hear me. I'm not throwing that principle out the window. I just want to teach it through the lens of grace. So here's what I want you to do today. Some of you, the reason it's so hard is that you hear things like this. Okay, I make $50,000 a year. So the church wants $5,000. That's $50,000 pre-tax. So they're asking me for $5,000. And you're doing the math. You're going, $5,000. My God, that's like $415 to $420 a month. Actually, it's $416.67. I did the math. That's what it is. You're going, that's a lot of money. $416 is like, do you know what I do with that in a month? Like, I pay bills and I buy groceries and we're able to live. Like, you want me to give that much out of my income? I don't want you to do anything. God's asking you, will you come in and trust me? What I'm telling you is that that's a principle we've always lived by. I haven't always had the steady job in life where it's like you get the paycheck every month or you get a paycheck bi-weekly. There were times where I was completely dependent when I was in the Christian music industry on having to play an event, or I'd had to go book a worship night somewhere. I had to play on a college campus. I had to book a youth event, and that's the only way we got paid. And it wasn't a lot sometimes. I mean, I would drive 8 hours sometimes to get paid $500 to play for a night. You think, that's a lot of money. No, it's not when you factor in a gas and a hotel. And I'll say, it wasn't much. Not when you got a family and I would do that anywhere I could play. But you know what I also did? They handed me a check for $500. Aaron and I would go to the bank, put it in, and we wrote a check for $50 and gave it to our church. It was the first check we wrote. Even when it was crazy hard, even when it was tight and we didn't know how we were going to make it, even when people had to help pay our mortgage or bring groceries, help us out, we never stopped tithing and God never stopped providing. So it doesn't make sense on paper. And it won't make sense in your economy. But guess what? God doesn't work in your economy. And God doesn't work in man's economy. He has his own economy. He goes, when you sow, you can reap. When you give, I will bless. Like, that's what he says. Like, I will provide for you. But you can't do this. You got to loosen up and give it to me. You got to give it to me. And I'm telling you, I have lived by this principle, but I don't want you to feel beaten up. And like, if I'm not doing this, here's why I called my sermon today, take the on-ramp. Take the on-ramp. You've all ridden on the interstate before. You go down Bruce B. Downs, and right when you get past up here, you're getting on the on-ramp to get on 75. That's how you get into the flow of traffic. There'll be a lot of people traveling this holiday week. Thank you, Jesus, I'm not doing it. I'm staying at home. But there'll be a lot of people taking the on-ramp, getting in the flow of traffic to get to their destination. Hear me this morning. I want you to do that when it comes to giving in the church. Take the on-ramp. Find how you can get in the flow with everybody else to go, I want to find a way to get in here. So I want to teach you this through the lens of grace. Everybody good with that? I call it the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps. You're going to write these down. This is going to set you free today. Here's the first one. Priority. It has to be a priority. Too many of us look at God and giving to the church as a last resort. So we get our money after taxes, we pay bills, we do all that stuff, and then we go, okay, what's left? God can have a little bit of that. You know what we call that? That's a tip. That's like a tip for God. Here you go. Here's what's a crazy thing. Think about this. This is going to blow some of your minds. You go to a restaurant. You pay. You base what you're going to give that server off of their service. But what does etiquette say? At a minimum, 15%. Really 18%, and if they were really good, why don't you give them 20% or more? Isn't it crazy? We'll give somebody that brought you some burgers and a fries to your table more than you'll give God. Well, that service was great. 20% to you. Here you go. And God's going, I asked for 10. Yeah, but I just don't think you're going to provide and take care of me. But the burger and the fries took care of you. Who gave the person legs to walk to your table and bring you them burgers and fries? Who has the cattle on 1,000 hills that made the burgers? You need to give God what's God's, and he'll take care of the rest. But we go, no. I get that principle. It's 15% or depending on how you serve me. And some of you going, God, you ain't serving me. You're serving me 1% worth. You're serving me 2% worth, God. And God's going, really? Wow. That's how we treat him. And it's a last resort, not a first priority. And that's what I want you to get this morning. It's a priority. Like, God, I'm going to make it the first of it. Look what Proverbs 3:9 says. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the what? First fruits of all your crops. This principle in sowing and farming was this idea of we brought in the harvest and I gave God the first. And not only the first, the best of it. I didn't go, what pieces are rotten? What are we not going to eat? Let's give him that. No. We brought it in. God, here's the first fruits. The very best of what we have, we bring to you first. And then look what happens in verse 10. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. When you bring God the first fruits of your wealth, and you go, God, you can have the first fruits of all of it. That's the principle. It's a priority. It is my first priority, not my last resort, right? It's the same thing that we're going to start talking about. We have 21 days of prayer and fasting coming up in January. Come on, some people, you need to get excited about that coming up. It's the best thing we do in our church every year. 21 days of prayer and fasting to start in January. And here's the statement I want you to even start thinking about that. Prayer is our first response, not our last resort. How many of you know that prayer becomes the last resort instead of your first response? Something bad happens, I need to pray. Not, oh my gosh, now it's really bad, now we pray. The same thing is true of your money. It is not a last resort, it is a first response to him. Here is the first fruits. It is my first priority. So that's the thing you need to get first. It becomes a priority in your life. Okay, God, I have received my income. I've received this gift, whatever. My first priority is to give to you a portion of that. A portion of it. Here you go, God. Now, for some of you, listen, I don't care if you just go, well, I got $100. I'm giving him $5. Okay. 10 would have been the 10%, but I'm just going to give $5. Or I'm going to give him $1. The widow brought 2 pennies. That's all she had. Here's what I want you to understand this morning when you make it a priority. We have a God who can bless a little way more than he can bless nothing. Like, he can't bless nothing. Do you know what your return is on nothing? Nothing. Like, when you give nothing, guess what you can be sure you'll get back? Nothing. That's how that works. If you went to the bank and said, hey, I'd like to deposit $0. I'll be back in a year. Can I get 100? They're going to be like, yeah, no, you cannot actually. That's not how this works. It's not how we do this. Well, I mean, but you have interest in there, right? Yeah. You know what the interest on 0 is? 0. That's how it keeps building. It stays at 0, sir. But when I go in and go, hey, I'm going to put $10 in this savings account and I'll be back in a year. Guess what's going to happen when you go back? It ain't much in this market, but there's $10 and like 12 cents in there maybe, or it got something because you gave a little and it got blessed a little bit. But when you give nothing, he can't really bless nothing. It's why we told you last week why we believe that this principle of giving God my first fruits and giving him that 10 off the top is because God can do way more with my 90% than I can do with all 100. Like, he can do way more with the 90 I have left over. He can bless it and use it and multiply it than if I keep all 100 and try to do the best I can with that myself. That's not how this works, because he can't bless nothing. But he can bless something. So I got to make it a priority. I want you to see that. You're going to make this a priority in your life. It's my first priority. Here's your second P, a percentage. Now, this is where people that have been in the church, they like the first one, like, yes, it's the first priority. And then I said percentage, like, yep, it's 10%. I'm with you. Nobody's discrediting that, but hear me real quick. You may be sitting in here, and again, why don't we have grace in other areas? I want to give you some grace. You're going, I just can't do 10%. Like, I've looked at it, like I desperately want to give God 10%, but we just can't do that. We won't make it. That's not you having a lack of faith. That's you going, okay, I've looked at it and I'm just telling you, if I do that, I will have to have X amount of dollars show up every week or we're going to starve. And it's not that God can't do that. What I'm telling you is this. What percentage can you do? When you look at it and you sit down, you talk with God, because here's what I want you to do. You're going, hey, dude, he gave us an out. We can do 1%. Everybody cool with that? 1%. Let's go. No. It's to go home and say, okay, God, stretch me. I want to feel it. But what percentage can I start with, God? Like, where can I start? Maybe for you, you're going, I could do 4%. Like, I could do 4%. Okay, then do 4%. And then watch what happens. In 3 months, you're going to get a raise at work. You're like, oh, we got a 3% raise. Here's what you don't do when 3% raise comes in. Sweet. We are rolling in it now. Now we got more money. Let's go do this. No, you're going to go, all right, God, out of that 3%, 2 of it comes to the family. We're up a percentage at the church. Now we're going to 5. I'm up to 5. Like, you see how that works? You're starting to think through, I got a percentage, but I'm not staying there. Why do we get that percentage? We talked about it last week. Malachi 3:10. Look at this. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. What's the storehouse? God's church, his house. Bring the whole tithe to the house. 10%. That's what a tithe means. A tenth off the top. First fruits, the crops, not after tax. Hear me. I know that hurts every time I say it, but that's how God's economy works. Giving the tithe, that there may be food where? In my house. In other words, when you do that, God can provide for his people because you provided for the house. So he can provide for his people. Test me in this. Remember, it's the only thing you test me. Go ahead and give it a try. I shared a story before. We have a lady in our church. She did a video a couple years ago about it. She's like, I didn't really know about tithing. She didn't do it for the church. She did it to share with her friends just to show a testimony. She's sitting in here right now. She said, hey, I'm going to try this thing. Guess what happened? She had the longest giving report in our church because anytime she got any money, she gave online. It's like 98 gifts just because every time it was like, here. She gave 10 off the top. It was like she was testing him. And then she shared the video. You aren't going to believe this. Every time I do it, I get another job. And I give another job. And I give, like she kept getting work. Because guess what you can't do? Outgive God. I'd love to see you try. I really would. Try it. I guarantee you can't do it. You can't outgive him. You can't outgive him. I shared this story with our dream team this morning. We got blessed a few weeks ago. One of the things Aaron and I try and do, every time we get blessed unexpectedly with a financial blessing or a gift, we go, okay, who can we bless? That's a good principle to live by for you. When you get blessed, who can you bless? Don't go, I got blessed, it's all for me. Go, okay, God, if you got it to me, you want to get it through me. Somebody gave us, I think it was during pastor appreciation time, they said, hey, they gave a gift, and I opened the card and kind of looked and didn't pay too much attention. I thought it was like $400. I thought it was 4 $100 bills. Was incredibly blown away, thankful, wrote a thank you note, but put that in my pocket thinking, cool, 4 $100 bills. I thought it was 400. I'll explain why I said I thought. So then I saw somebody, and I went, you know what? I know they've got stuff going on, man. I just feel like God, and I gave them one. I said, here you go. Just want to bless you with that, man. We got an unexpected blessing. I want to bless you and your family in here. They were like, wow, thank you. Now, this is not a cool look at Pastor Matt is. No, that's not what I'm telling you. Watch the principle. So I gave that $100 away. And I'm thinking, oh, I've got 3 left. Thank you, God. That's an incredible blessing. And I got to the gas station. I reached in my pocket, and there were 4. And I went, I gave one away. So maybe they gave 5. So I shook that one off. I went, okay, they must have given 5. I just miscounted. I gave one away. Cool, we got 4, unexpected blessing. Thank you, God. Got home, told Aaron, hey, we got 5 apparently. I thought it was 4. We must have gotten 5. I gave one away. She was like, good. I was going to ask you who could we bless once we got a blessing like that. Went to check the mail, $100 check in the mailbox unexpectedly on the same day. Because I'm trying to tell you, you can't outgive him. I'm like, God, I'm trying to give it away, God. He's like, no, I got you. I can keep refilling the tank if you'll empty it out. But you can't hold on to it. Because then I got no room to put anything else in there. I need you to give it. And let's do this thing. Let's work together. I promise you, I have testimony after testimony I could share with you. We could talk for days about how I've seen God work this principle out. Of going, I'm going to give you, God, that percentage. I'm going to give you that first 10%. Because remember, he can bless a little way more than he can bless nothing. So maybe that's your step today. Like, okay, I'm going to make it a first priority. And I'm going to pick a percentage. But you don't stop there because other people are going, look, I've been given 10. Cool, we can just drop it back to 5? No. Again, because you're where God's got you. And maybe for you this morning, you're at 10. You've been at 10 for 15, 20 years. And God's going, I've been ready for a couple years now to bump this thing up. To stretch a little bit. To become an extravagant giver. So hear me real quick. That 10, I think, is the baseline. But we're telling you, if you're not at the baseline, let's work. Because guess what the third P is? Progress. Progress. You're not saying I'm going to pick a percentage and stay there for the rest of my life. You're going, I'm going to pick a percentage and I'm going to work until I'm there. Until I'm a tither. Until I'm a 10% giver. We saw this happen in our church that we grew up in where Pastor Tim was here a few weeks ago. I was on staff there for almost 5 years. I can remember a guy came to us and Pastor Tim's like, he's been with us. And we came to the church when they were roughly maybe 5 years old. So they've been going for 5 years. Now they're roughly at 15 years old. So we came in at year 5, stayed there till almost year 10 of the church before we went out to plant. And a guy came up, Pastor Tim's like, they've been here almost since the beginning of our church. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And the man came up and he said, you're not going to believe it. I just finally tithed for the first time. We're talking like 8 years at the church. I tithed. And he had been progressing. He's like, I started like 6 years ago. I was at 3%, and we've worked and we've worked and we've worked. He's like, and I'm at 10%. And like he wasn't boasting. He was excited because he had gone, God, I'm going to make it a priority. I got my percentage. I'm progressing. I'm getting better. I'm going to become an extravagant giver. Now, from what I understand, he's like a 14, 15% giver now. Because guess what? I'm not done. I'm just going to get better, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to get better. Listen, I tell my kids, I tell our staff, I tell every servant leader, I don't need you to be the best. I just need you to get better. Nobody's expecting you to be the best, but we can get better. We can get better next week than we were this week. We can get better tomorrow than we were today. We can always get better. That's what progressing means. I want to get better. Look what it means. The word progress or progress means this: a movement towards a goal or to a further or higher stage. I'm progressing. Or it means growth or development, continuous improvement. All right, God, I've picked it. I made it a priority. I found a percentage that we can work in, that it's stretching me and I can feel it, and I'm progressing. I'm getting better. Anybody ever been to Disney World? We live in Florida. If you haven't, I'm sorry. Like we have passes. That's what our family buys us every other year for Christmas, so we'll get them again this Christmas. Our 8-year-old daughter, do you know what her favorite ride is? It's not Space Mountain. It's not the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or any of the cool rides that you love. She likes the Carousel of Progress. That is the oldest thing ever at Disney World. It's crazy. It was like at the World's Fair. It's like one of the first things. He's got the animatronic guy, and this is how he talks. He's like, wow, progress. That's how he talks. It's this weird, creepy animatronic man that takes us from like the 20s to what's supposed to be like modern day or the future. It's called the Carousel of Progress. We're getting better. That's when it starts off. It's like the olden days. And now you hear him say, the Johnsons got snap-on electric lighting. It's like, okay, we've had that for years, bro. I know what we're talking about. She loves it. She's mesmerized as we go around the Carousel of Progress. I'm going, babe, we have all of this stuff now. What are we watching this for? But she loves it. But there's something magical about going back and be like, do you remember when you used to have this? We had candles that lit everything. It was like oil lamps. Then we had electricity. Now we have freezers. You don't have to have a block of ice in. You can actually like just keep the ice and it makes it itself. And like, we got better. We progressed. That's what God's asking. Can you get on the Carousel of Progress? Can we get better? Can you get on the on-ramp? How can you get in? Because I added a bonus P from the last time I taught this. Here's a fourth one for you. Participate. Everyone can participate at some level. Everyone can get on the on-ramp somehow. I don't care if the on-ramp for you right now, because you're still uncertain about this God thing, if the on-ramp's like, I'll give $20 a month, which is like 0.7% of what you have. Okay. He can bless a little more than he can bless nothing. But you're going, I can participate at some level. I want to tell you what would happen if we had 100% participation at Limitless Church. We would transform this city. Even at the size church we are right now, if 100% participation of I'm going to get in the game and on the on-ramp giving, we could transform this city. We could do some crazy stuff to bless people and help people in our community. There's an old saying I never thought was true till I got on this side of the table. I had so many pastors go, just wait. The old 20-80 rule will work out for you. I was like, what? Like, trust me, bro, you're going to start pastoring a church, and 20% of the people do 80% of the giving, while 80% of the people do 20% of the giving. I was like, no, that's not true. There's no way that's true. Oh, no, it's very true. It's very true. The Limitless Church, look, we're an open book, man. We're a nonprofit. You can look at our books anytime you want to. See what we're doing? Yeah, it's open for everybody to see. I would tell you we're probably like a 15-85 here. 15% of the people do 85% of the giving, while 85% do 15%. I mean, look, this isn't me like coming down and trying to be harsh or trying to be mean or anything. I'm just trying to be real with you about how God's economy works. So how many tithers you got in your church? Maybe 12? I don't know, 13? I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what you make. I don't know what that is. I don't even see the numbers. I don't know what everybody gives here. I get like a report that I just kind of see. I don't know. But here's what I would tell you. Like, I had a pastor one time say to me, I thought it was funny when he said it, but I was like, oh, that is kind of true. Like, you almost want to go like, you doing okay? Why? Well, because, man, if that's 10%, like, we want to make sure you're good. We need to make sure we're helping you out. Like, if that's 10%, like, are y'all starving? Like, no, we're fine. Like, that's the thought process. That's the way you think about it. Like, that's the embarrassing thing for me when I think about it not being a 10% giver. Like, people are like, how much you give? I gave $50. Oh my God, you make $500 a month? Like, there's a funny video that went out from a Christian comedian about that. They're on a date, and he's in church. He's like, oh man, I got to give something. She'll think I'm cheap. And then she's on the other side, and he puts $20 in. She's like, $20? Is that all he makes? Like, that's the thought process. She's doing the math. $20, 10%. You make $200? I'm out, right? So the thought process. Like, you're watching. I remember growing up and my mom wrote checks, and she was a school teacher. I didn't know everything my mom made, but I had a pretty good idea. And this is how I want you to know. I didn't grow up learning the tithe. I grew up watching my mom occasionally at the Baptist church write a check, and this isn't embarrassing. We've had this conversation for like $75, $100. And I thought, oh, she was doing something, but she told me, I never tithed until maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And she goes, my finances are better now in the last 5 or 6 years than they've ever been. Like, I'm just telling you guys, this is the way God's economy works. He's like, you got to trust me. In God, we trust. Do you trust him with your stuff? Like, again, hear me on this. You're going, yeah, but I don't know about that, man, because I've seen churches and they've used money wrong, and I don't know what they're doing with that money. Hear me real quick. It is not your job to punish or worry about that. You need to trust that God will take care of those that are taking care of the money and the stewardship you give. Listen, we're an open book here. Like I said, you can come and see, and I mean, I don't think anybody's rolling deep and driving Mercedes and riding jets around anywhere. I hope you think. My car is a 2003. You can come check it out. It's got 230,000 miles on it. But guess what? I don't care. I love it because it gets me from point A to point B. Like, ain't nobody riding in Mercedes or getting BMWs out here and living it up. Like, that's not what we're doing. Guess what? Thanksgiving's coming up. Do you know what we want to do at our church? If you don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, we're going to have somewhere for you to go. You can't buy groceries and food for Thanksgiving. Guess who's going to do that? We're going to do that for you. So you come find us after church. Christmas is coming. You're going, I have no idea how we're going to pay for our kids' Christmas. I do. We're going to help you out. We're going to come alongside of you. You go, Matt, how are we going to do that? Because I believe we're going to see people participate, pick a percentage, make it a priority, and progress. But here's what I also know. December 8th is coming. What is that, you ask? It's time for Heart for the House. So we're doing something different this year for Heart for the House. We don't have, a lot of times we do Heart for the House, we have needs like, oh, we need to get equipment, or we renovated our kids area back in the beginning of the year, things like that. That's not what we're doing this year. Like, as a church, we're doing well. Hear me real quick. We're a debt-free church. Come on, somebody. That's a big, we don't have debt at our church. We're debt-free. And we're going to stay debt-free. Like, we're debt-free. We have money in savings. We're good. But we could be better. So here's what we're going to do. This Heart for the House is all to go, how can we help others? How can we bless our community? So we're going to help the kids in Haiti have an incredible Christmas at the orphanage we support. Yeah, we're giving them food every month, but we're going to make sure this is the best Christmas they've ever had. When those families come and go, Pastor, I'm so embarrassed to say this. Don't be embarrassed. Let me tell you something, man. We've all been there. We all had struggles. I don't know how we're going to do Christmas. I do. Let's look at it. Let's see what we can do. Listen, we can't do everything, but we can do something as a church. Thanksgiving comes around. You go, I don't know what we're going to do for Thanksgiving. I do. We're going to get some turkey. We're going to get some gravy. We're going to get you a meal, and you're going to be good, or you're going to come have Thanksgiving with me. Like, we're going to take care of you. That's how this thing works. That the church comes together. They've made it a priority to give a percentage and progress and participate with God in his economy. And then we can do what God's called us to do. Hear me on this. I'm not twisting your arm. Again, if you feel that right now, we're going to take up our tithes and offerings in a second. Don't put a single dollar in the bucket. Hear me. That's not even like talk. I'm saying if you feel like we're trying to manipulate you, don't give a dime. Don't. Because that's not our heart. Because here's what I know. My God owns a cattle on 1,000 hills. He is not stressed about money. He ain't worried about finances. Do you know what the streets are made of in heaven? Gold. He needs to help me out. He can just shake the dust off his sandals and let it rain down real quick. He ain't worried about any of that. He's like, you need a little something there. That's the streets up here. That's what we got. Just let it rain down on you real quick. We're good. He's not worried about that. This ain't an issue of God's going broke. His bank account's getting thin. That's not what this is. God owns it all. He's going, do you trust me to give me that percentage, knowing that I'll provide for the rest? That's what it is, man. I just want to see people get free. Because I know what it's like to be in bondage in this area. I just want to see you get free. Just get free. So how do I get free, Matt? You're going to jump in the game. You're going to take the on-ramp and start participating at whatever level you feel God's called you to participate, and watch what he'll do with it. I promise you. You're going to step in at some level and he's going to start blessing you, like, oh my gosh. it's actually working. Like his economy works. And then you're going to keep doing it. You're going to progress and get better. Here's why we do Heart for the House. Psalm 69:9. For zeal for your house consumes me. It consumes me. Can I just ask a real blatant question of you real quick that has nothing to do with the financial talk right now? Is anybody excited about Jesus? Like, is anybody like you, like, are crazy in love with Jesus and like he's the greatest thing you've ever experienced? Like, he's transformed your life and you would never be where you are without him. Like, right? That's what that zeal is. That means like this unabandoned, crazy, I'm so excited, I'm losing my mind faith for Jesus. I don't know about you. That's what I want. I want to be consumed by Jesus. But look what David wrote there. Zeal for your house consumes me. Listen to me real quick. If you'll stay planted, the Bible says those that are planted in the house of the Lord will flourish in his courts forever. You got to stay planted. When it gets hard, don't bail out. When your pastor preaches messages that make you uncomfortable, stick in the game and stay around. Like, listen, that's what we got to get better. Get locked in. And then here's the next part. You need to bring somebody on the journey with you. Bring somebody on the journey with you. I'm about to do a message right after this with our servant leaders and our team that's going to hopefully help spark them, that will spark you as well. And eventually I'll probably teach you here as well, but I'm just passionate about this, guys. Like I told y'all a couple weeks ago, I don't want to play church anymore. I'm not trying to play around. I want to see people experience all that God has for them. That's what we want for you. We want you to experience all that God has for you. So here, take the on-ramp. Everybody can participate. Make it your first priority. Pick a percentage and progress. For you people that have been in the church for a long time and you're a tither, hear me real quick. I didn't say anything unbiblical. I believe in the tithe. I want people giving 10%. I believe it's a biblical call, but I also want to let people get better and have some grace on the journey. We let them have grace everywhere else. Give them some grace in this area, and let's watch what God will do. He can bless a little more than he can bless nothing. Every eye closed, every head bowed. Hear me this morning as we wrap up. The first and foremost place you have to go before you can ever consider giving to God and living out these biblical principles and understanding faith and growing is, the first step is you have to begin a relationship with Jesus. And once you do that, he'll take care of teaching you all the rest and helping you get better and helping you progress. So if you're here this morning, you've never given your life to Christ, but you want to do that today. You're sitting here and you're saying, I want to begin a relationship with Jesus. I simply want to ask you on the count of 3 to raise your hand long enough for me to see it, and you can put it back down. This is your moment of declaring, I want to begin a relationship with Jesus. 1, 2, 3. If that's you, raise your hand long enough for me to see it. You can put it back down. Thank you for that. I'm about to say, that's me. Amen. And for the rest of us, again, I'm never going to apologize for preaching the hard messages just as much as we preach the fun, feel-good messages, as much as we preach the fun faith messages. Like, we got to teach it all. And so I want us all to get better. I hope this encouraged you today and challenged you, and that you're walking out of here saying, God, I'm going to get better. I'm going to progress. I'm going to participate. And I'm going to make giving to you the first priority in my life. Hey, if you raise your hand or wanted to, we're all going to say a prayer together. This is your moment with God. Just repeat after me. Everybody's going to say it so you don't feel signaled out. Say, Jesus, I love you. Thank you for loving me enough to die for my sins. I ask you to come into my life, forgive my sins. I want to begin a relationship with you. Save me. I'm all in with you, Jesus. Lord, we thank you for everybody who prayed that prayer for the first time. Maybe it was a rededication, whatever the case may be. God, we thank you for those that have stepped from death to life. And now, God, I commit and I declare that everyone in this room, under the sound of my voice, we are all going to get on the on-ramp and get into participating with you. We're going to make it a priority in our life. We're going to find that percentage. God, I hope and pray it's 10%, but if not, let's find a place where people can progress and get better in this area with you. Jesus, we love you. We thank you. And all of God's people said, come on, all of God's people said, hey, church, I love you. Hey, next week we're starting something really fun. We're starting a brand new Christmas series. You're not going to miss it. It's called Christmas Carols. We're actually taking popular Christmas songs and teaching you why we sing them. It's going to be really fun. The band's going to do it every week. They're going to have a cool arrangement of those songs. Who's ready for some Christmas? The stage will be decorated. Hey, have a great Thanksgiving.